bringing you the latest news, game updates, insights, highlights, and everything Liberty Hockey. This is Rock the Rink, where Liberty Hockey lives.
Well, the rink was a rockin' this past weekend. Flames taking the weekend series over the Pitt Panthers, winning in the midnight game, and then as well on Saturday night. They take it by a score 5-3 and 3-1. First night, I didn't get to be there for Midnight Mayhem, Liberty football going on that night, but a big win by the boys, a pretty tight-knit hockey game as well.
Yeah, it really was. Obviously, for the guys in game one, like Liberty scored first, then Pitt, I almost said Minot. Pitt answered back, and then period two belonged to the Flames. Like, they were getting it done in a variety of ways. Key reason why they were going to the front of the net, power play was clicking, PK was clicking, and like that was a big case really throughout the whole weekend. I mean, you go 6 for 6 on the PK all weekend long. You scored 3 power play goals, so that became the difference maker. And like you saw little bad habits in game one because they let Pitt back into game one a couple times, especially when they won period 3, scoring 2, and then like you were talking about, Rhett, like the way Lindsay was playing, which one I think he's made a case to be the starter at Pitt now.
Oh, for sure.
But I almost thought like, oh, is it going to be a 1-0 game or 1-1 going into overtime?
Yeah.
But, yeah, Liberty found a way, got some puck luck off of a big bounce from, well, first the tying goal by Calendike, which we've seen him do so many times, and then the good bounce by Bartel, and then Jason Foltz, who we both agreed probably had his best weekend series, looked sensational with the insurance goal.
Yeah, big weekend.
And I'm sure we're going to talk about individual performances and lines a little later on, but it was a good weekend of hockey that I was happy about. There were, however, especially in game one, some mistakes made with turnovers that led to goals. So it's great to see 5-on-5, normal, controlled hockey that we are that solid, but some of those mistakes we have to make up for because good teams are going to capitalize on those like Pitt did.
Yeah, and that happened in game 2 as well. Like, truthfully, Liberty could have had a shutout if it hadn't been for that turnover right in front of their net where Pezzo was just gifted early Christmas present and put it in on the backhand. That's one area I would say of Liberty's game. A lot of things have started to turn in the right direction over the last couple of weeks, but defensive zone turnovers has been, it's reared its ugly head multiple times throughout this year.
Yeah, it really has. And obviously, like Kerr just said, if a team, especially that is in the national tournament, is, basically in a rhythm, caught fire, and really on a good streak going into the tournament, they're going to be able to find a way to bury. So, like, those are one thing they've got to be able to find a way to figure out.
And those are, it's like the pick six where like
it's
so hard to put points, then all of a sudden it's just like, all right, now we have to score to make up that goal and score to make up another goal. Like it could be deflating, especially as the games get more intense later on.
Yeah,
in the year.
That's a really good comparison for a pick six in that sense. Talking little football talk here. Talking about football, how about Coach Jamie Chadwell dropping by with the Conference USA Championship trophy?
Real.
Yeah, I gotta give that guy credit. Like coming in, like. Everybody has their feelings about certain schools, and for Liberty Coastal, you hear Coastal, it makes your skin crawl. That's just kind of how we've been trained to be. But coming in and you're like, oh, okay, this guy seems like a legit dude, and then he's just been top-notch ever since he's come to the program here on the mountain, and you love the way he's doing things, and the fact that he took the time after winning a conference championship, you're undefeated, to go over to the rink because I'm sure he thought a lot of the kids that were at football are now at the rink to thank them. That was tip of the hat to him.
Yeah, and I remember, well, I can't say I remember, but talking to Meg Davis, who runs social media for Club Sports, she was there, and she was watching him. He was up on the concourse, letting guys and students take pictures, and basically telling them come over, get a picture with the trophy. Right. And then at one point, him and the assistant coach were like, "You think it'd be all right if we left the trophy down in the lobby so people could just take pictures with it?" And they were told, "Absolutely not." Okay. But yeah, so but that just shows their character. They want the student body very well involved and invested.
I love it, and all credit to him of he's putting himself where the students are.
Right.
He's showing up, and how do you get a whole school to rally behind your team?
Totally.
Be present, right, and just show that you're investing in them as well.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I loved seeing that.
The also thing I love is that it feels like with him, a lot of coaches are moving on to the next best thing, and I'm sure that Chadwell last year could have taken a Power 5 job, and even right now we know he's been offered Power 5 opportunities, but he really seems as if his roots are in Lynchburg, his heart's in Lynchburg, and he wants to take Liberty to the college football playoffs in the future when it expands to 12. So exciting things ahead for Liberty football. Diving back into Liberty hockey, let's go night 2 again. A couple landmarks being made. 20 and 21st members of the 100-Point Club, Matt Bartell and Jason Foltz. And I want to give Foltz some praise because his style of player, and I know this is just an historic trend, I realize it myself, I can be hard on them, on finesse players, but I thought he played his best game in a Liberty uniform on that second night. I love the 2 hits on that one shift. I don't know if it's a mental decision in Folt's game to say, I'm going to be a lot tougher to play against along the boards and come away with 50-50 pucks. But I've noticed in the last 3 weekends at least, he has been so much better in that area. And that's just opened up the rest of the ice for him. Like that goal he scored 5-hole was a beauty. I loved it. But his compete level has gone from his double since the initial 5 to 6 games of the season. I love where his game's at right now. Like that second line, if you want to call it second line now, of Bartell, Ottenbright, and Foltz is just playing some really, really good hockey. And if you can have the the Olsen line followed by the Bartell line just battling in there and playing the way they are right now, Liberty's a tough out.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you've got to look at really since they've put them back together, they took a little time for them to get their feet under them, get that chemistry back. But now that line is clicked and found a way, I believe during the 7-game win streak that Liberty has, they have a goal in 6 of those games.
That's great.
Right? So you have found a way to consistently bring in second-tier scoring, like you said. A lot of physicality now coming from that line as well, which you love to see. And I think that a lot of that line knows its role. And so, that's the biggest thing, I think, now when you have a second line that can do basically what your top line has been doing consistently, it's going to take you a long way.
I was just impressed by that stat line of when you think of how many players we've had on this team, that you have 2 guys in the same line, the same weekend, becoming 21st. It's just exciting. And to that physicality spot, I mean, Matt Bartell, Jason Foltz, and Cam Ottenbright, they're not small people. Obviously, Matt's a little bigger, but Foltz and Ottenbright bring a ton of speed. And so when you could have speed with physicality, with a score, now we have 2 really lethal lines that could get it done. Right, you're not just depending on one or the other, and that's going to make us very difficult to play. Because to your point earlier, Rhett, before we started recording, of if teams are sending out top D pairings to try to slow down one of those lines,
right?
All right, now the other line won't be facing that top D pairing. Let's just say they're trying to send them out to shut down the Olsen line. Well, now you have the speed of Foltz and Ottenbright with the scoring ability that Matt brings, the physicality side as well. Mm-hmm. It's tough to play against.
It is.
It really is. Yeah, and to your point too, Kerr, I got 2 points because of, it's crazy to think all the players that have come through, especially some big names that, we only have 21 players that have cracked the century.
That's true.
Especially in the long history of Liberty hockey for men's D1. So that's awesome. But then the second part, obviously we know those guys are pretty strong. Cam Ottenbright deadlifted a guy on the ice the other day. So got to credit Chris Kerr over there for really getting the guys going.
Pat did give you the shout out on the podcast.
Yeah,
that was great. I loved it. Buddy's holding on to the stick. Why not? Just Cam's just it was fantastic. Kind of going on to your point too. Well, let's give some love to the bottom 6 in that you wear down the top pairing D, and that leaves you with the bottom 4, if you essentially to play against, which would be the Feemster line and the Gamer line. That's a tough task in the ACHA if you're requiring your third D pair and even your second D pair to go up against those lines consistently, because the Gamer line with Albers on there or Smith, whoever they kind of go with, that's a physical line. Yeah. They're going to wear on you. But then also that 4th line now, when you put Bladen on there with Feemster and Finch, that's got some legit speed. Yeah, they are quick.
Yeah, they're fast. Like you said, so they bring physicality. Yeah. on the bottom six, and then their speed too, and a lot of playmaking. Like that group has also come away with its fair share of goals over the 7-game stretch for Liberty with winning. So like, I mean, like now Liberty, I know they still got to shore up a few things, which I'm sure they're going to work on now heading into the mid-year break, which is at a good time. But like, I mean, they're trending in the right direction, right? And like we said earlier or last week, how now Liberty has 4 consistent lines that you can really roll with.
Right.
Yeah. And I said this last week, but this is kind of like, this is what I was thinking in August and early September of like, we are going to be so hard to play against. It's just like line after line of forwards that could go out there and grind you down, outwork you, score, battle in front of the net, score finesse goals. I mean, just I talk about him often, but like the evolution of Sam Feemster, the goal he scored this weekend of, a lot of traffic in front, puck came out, but just being able to have the skill of through traffic, put it on when you're not, right in front. I don't know if he could have done that type of thing last year. So we just see guys getting better and better year after year, game after game. It's exciting.
Yeah, it takes a lot of patience and comfort level with the puck to wait to find a seam. And that's the only criticism I'd give to that fourth line is maybe a few times they get a little cute with the passing, like get a puck on net. I remember they had an opportunity where Finch and Feemster came down. I think they tried to slip it near side, and it went through because, it was picked off by D. And it's just, if you hit the trailer, get a puck on net and crash the crease for a rebound goal. But Liberty forwards trending in the right direction. D looking solid too. We mentioned 6 for 6 on the PK. That was a big reason. When you've got a guy, Aldrich Virag. Doesn't he sound like he should be like an Undertaker?
He's a big guy, big fella, right? Like a big guy with high level skill like him. They're not often, but like he lays the body well. He's a great shooter, obviously, with 20 plus goals on the year. So 22. Like doing good thing. And like just that whole like Rippin, Paizo, like that's a top quality line in the ACHA, and like that's why Pitt has been so successful this year. And so for Liberty to they knew they were going to get theirs, but to basically limit the rest of the team and like not allow them to get going too, like that's huge.
It's always interesting when you see a team like Pitt come in, they have a top line that's kind of known. That's turned into a thing in Acha plays. It feels like teams kind of have the big three, if you will, that you kind of hear about. You're like, okay, that's their line. Their boy Leslie, I thought in a lot of ways was their best player. Like he was 10 for them. He was good. Like he was fast. There are a couple times where he just had deceptive speed. Like it would be a foot race to the puck in his offense, in the offensive zone for him, and he beat out a Flames defender just because you're like, wow, where did he come from? Like he had some jets and definitely had multiple opportunities to score. But that's a good team. You see why they do well in the ESCHL.
Right.
When you have size of Paizo and Virag and Leslie's not a small guy either, like that team overall is a pretty big team, a lot of 6+ footers. So best of luck to Pitt in the future in the ESCHL. That is one thing, now that we're out of there, we don't pay as much attention, but the ESCHL playoffs could be really interesting this year because Niagara, smaller, skilled, faster. You see Pitt, bigger, I'd say a little bit more of a cycle-based team in terms, and they rely a lot on the power play. That'd be a fun matchup in the championship. And then I'd be curious to see Syracuse too when they come into town here in the new year, which that is coming up January 18th and 19th when Liberty will start off the new semester. Then they take on Stony Brook and Adrian coming to town as well. But as we head into the spring, obviously the Flames are going to get a little bit healthier. They're going to get some bodies back. Yes. Bogan Holmes should be back in the lineup. We believe Last Cable will be available as well. So the D will have a different look. Yes. And it'll be curious to see who is out and who's in. There's going to be some extra bodies up in the seats. We'll get to that in a sec. Before we get there, let's give away 4 awards, midseason awards. Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your midseason MVP. We'll start with that.
Midseason MVP for me, I have to say, is Jacob Kalendijk.
Okay.
There's only 3 games he has not registered a point this year. Like, out of all the independent teams, like, because you know how the stat sheet is labeled now for ACHA, how they have it sorted. He leads them all in points.
Wow.
Like, so, like, and you talked about if Adrian dropped down, that'd be a really good conference of independent teams, right? Like, so, like, I mean, you think about all the skill with teams like Ohio, Maryville,
Minot,
like being a part of the independent group. So he leading them all in points. And like I said, only have 3 games where he hasn't registered a point. Like that's pretty fantastic. So to me, he would be our MVP as of right now.
That's a great call. And so I think an obvious one would be Hunter Verostic, right? Always coming up big in big games, but he gets a lot of the shine and the glory. I'm going to go a different route since I'm a little bit more in the locker room with them, and I'm going to say a fall semester MVP has been our leadership group that we have on this team. The C and all of our A's. I think they've done a great job of taking a talented team, a lot of new guys on the team, and I'm just going to say of like a little rockier in the start, they've brought us to a great place. And so I get to see those 4 guys working their butts off in all these different areas, leading this team, picking guys up when they're down, all those sorts of things that the fans might not be able to see. And those small little things add up over a season and really contribute to the success of a team. So Captain and Bartel, and then our A's of Albers, Schwenke, Gammer, they have done a phenomenal job so far this fall.
Yeah, actually, quick side note on that, or to piggyback off what you said, to say they've done a good job, because after that Minot series, when they dropped to 8-1, dropped the last game in that series 8-1, you could think, oh man, where's this team gonna go? And that leadership group really did rally them, because you play the top 25 basically throughout the rest of the semester. You're 8-2 versus the top 25 in the country, and most of that is versus teams in the top 15. So, hats off to the leadership group for really rallying this group and starting to get guys to buy in.
And not hitting the panic button, too.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's not like all of a sudden they walked into the weight room or the locker room or on ice and are speaking expletives to the team of, like, we got to do this. Like, no, they just they worked and everybody kind of rose to their level. That's my opinion from having a little bit more insight into the team.
All right, good stuff. I think mine would be Verostic, to be honest, because early on, he was just the guy back there that gave the team time to find their legs in order for them to win some games, and I thought that was huge. And still, truthfully, I'd say this is the first weekend, and I only caught the Saturday night game, where I felt like he did not have to do that in quite some time. And so he also gave the team long enough to gel together to get to the point where they are now. So he would be my first semester MVP. And everybody knows I'm a goalie, so I like goalies. And that definitely plays a part in it. Perfect. All right, most improved.
Most improved, that's an award I think people always don't like to hear. But you got to give it to Sam Feeney.
Yeah. Are you going any different on that?
No,
that's who I would pick too.
I mean, I think, he is basically at the end of the year, he's becoming, we talked about it earlier with a couple other guys during the broadcast this weekend, but he's becoming a complete hockey player.
Yeah.
He's got great, obviously we always talk about his work ethic and how hardworking he's doing, but he's got high skill shooting abilities, great playmaking ability. He's on the PK, he's on the power play now. You use him in 4-on-4. He plays in every aspect of the game now, and that is pretty big to see.
When you have your hardest worker of the team last year not become your most improved, it's kind of one of those, hey, you work hard, but you don't really help us very much. Is what it is. You're working hard, but you're working hard in the wrong things. I think that he's narrowed in on whatever kind of specific areas that he needs to improve upon, and he's applying all that hard work into it. And that is a phenomenal recipe for success.
All right, we're all in agreement there. Offensive player of the year.
You
gonna double down on Calendike?
Nah, someone else go real quick, because I've gone first every time.
Okay.
And then I gotta think of something.
Yeah.
To do.
Okay.
Part of me wants to double down, but I'm like, I can give love somewhere else.
All right.
I won't. It's Jacob. He's the guy. Yeah.
But he's not your MVP, so that works out.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right,
yeah. Mine be Versalono. I like the way he plays. I like the way I think he does a lot for that line. And I could even, truthfully, if Olsen's point total were higher, I could throw him in that conversation as well. But I think Jackson, I truthfully think he gives up points to make that line better when I watch this style of play, because he can come in the offensive zone and he could just put his head down and drive to the net and probably score some goals that way. But he's more than happy to slow up and like, hey, let's orchestrate this thing in the offensive zone and find our best possible opportunity. And he's not the star on the team, but I think he does a lot of things right, especially on the power play, just the way he can pass out of the corner. He has great vision there. There's little details I just love about his game, and the fact that, he's second in points currently, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the fact that he's there and he's not the go-to star on this team, I think a lot of other individuals around him would be lower in points if it weren't for him.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna split it. I'm gonna give it to two people. I'm gonna give it because first half will go to Jake McCallum, but this second half, honestly, in the 7-game stretch, I gotta give it to Foltz.
Okay. I get you.
Yeah, he's put a goal. I had to look it back. Yeah, like you said, that first 6 games, he was struggling trying to get it going and really get his mojo. But then, during the 7-game win streak, he has a goal in 6 of the games.
Okay.
And I think that has been huge because he's provided much needed scoring for Liberty, second tier. And then, also too, he's becoming what we thought after a breakout sophomore year and decent junior year, now he's back in rhythm and honestly more becoming a complete hockey player. Like you said, right? Laying the body well, continues to use his speed, work along the boards. Those are the other aspects that he's adding to the game along to go with the offensive game.
Love it.
I like it. That's a good one. All right, last defensive player of the year. This is a hard one because there's just been banged up bodies.
A lot of banged up bodies.
We're gonna take goalies out of this. Okay. So
I'm gonna go Colton Kovac.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm always when I saw him last year, I was like, oh, this guy's a dude. He can do it back there. But I like just every aspect of his game, and he's not an offensive defenseman, but he just gets it done when he's on the back end, and you're he's one of the guys that is good about limiting the turnovers, brings a big physical element, and he's kind of also helps Hunter out back there, making it tough for guys that want to get up in the crease or create traffic in front of the net. So, that's my defensive MVP as of right now.
I'm going to go with the only guy who's been able to play all of our games, and Kevin Byte. As I'm going down the stat sheet right now, we've mentioned people being in and out of the lineup, banged up bodies, and all that. And he has registered all 19 games. So he's doing something right.
Yeah.
As well as
he definitely has an offensive net.
I was going to say he's getting us some production in the offensive end as well, registering 4 goals, 11 assists so far.
This is really tough. I'm thinking about my own question. I'm like, man, this is hard because each one brings a certain element to the team that they need. Even who would think of and I'm not saying this is my guy. I agree with Kovac. Kovac would be my pick, but you got to give Cox some credit too. He goes out there and just absolutely lays his body out there every single night, and he plays a huge physical game, which I think the team desperately needs on the back end. And there's been some really good play from all of them, but I think Kovac would be my guy. Just the way he settles things down. It never feels like he's in a rush and just makes simple, smart plays. That's what the team needs. And so he'd be my defensive player of the year thus far. But yeah, the defensive, the whole back end's going to change next semester. It's going to be wild to see. All right. Before we move on here, looking forward to next semester. Again, we mentioned Syracuse first team up. Lots of great teams again on the docket. You're going to host Adrian. You're at Ohio. You're hosting Niagara. And then you have a home-and-home series with Ohio again. Lots of Ohio this season. It's taking you back. COVID's not back, I hope. All right. So that's going to be fun. Interesting stat. Pat came up with this. Liberty 8-5-1 versus the top 25. 8-2 versus teams not named Minot. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's pretty because at first I think looking into the season I was when you look at the record, I was how have they done versus the top 25? Yeah. And now you're oh wow, actually.
Who are those 2 losses? Delaware? Is that one of them?
Nope.
Are they not touching?
No.
Really?
Adrian and Maryville.
Okay. That's wild.
Yeah, and both 1-goal games.
Yeah.
Right? So
good.
You're in it.
That's a really good stat. All right. Let's move on now to the women's team. A tough weekend for them on the road. Boy, I don't remember the last time I ever had to say this, but they dropped back-to-back games to Midland 2-1 and 5-0.
No, I mean, we haven't said it versus an ACHA team in the Chris Lowe's era. I mean, first time he dropped 2 games in a row was unfortunately his first 2 games versus the Pride.
Right.
Like lost, I believe, 4-0 and then 4-3, but then they had a 19-game winning streak right after that. So, and only lost 1 game. But yeah, so like that was just a tough series. And Kerr talked about it last week. It's going to be a different game because you're going on Olympic ice. So, especially if you're not used to playing on it, and I think game 2, like Midland, credit them. Like One Stone played great, but your big guns got to come up in big games, and their big guns came up in game 2 for big plays, and also they scored on chances. Like they had a great 2-on-1 breakaway in game 1 that became the game winner at the beginning of the second period. Like they were not only capitalized on their chances, but when their big players needed to make plays, they did, and that was the difference this weekend.
So they play on Olympic ice. I hate that. I really do. I don't think that should be allowed in ACHA play. If I'm truthfully honest, I'm not trying. Pardon me. I'm not trying to take away the wins from Midland, because when you win 5-0, you did obviously something right, and you're deserving of that win. But for players who play such a large percentage of their game on NHL ice throughout the year, and then all of a sudden you have to get this little dip of Olympic ice, it throws off everything from your angle perspective. Like just how you play D, how you attack the puck, how goaltenders square up to the puck in the crease. Like it throws everything off. I hate the fact that Delaware has Olympic ice, and then I guess Midland here has Olympic ice as well. And I'm sure it's other places.
UMass for
UMass I believe so too. UMass or Rhode Island. It was one of those teams up north that they play regular.
And I know NYU. I know was okay. So I'll give Ohio has like a smaller than normal rink. The Bird, I think it's a little tinier. I'm okay with that because it doesn't jack you up as much. But the stinking when the boards are wider, that's what just throws you off. And I just think that's tough to play in. And I know there should be no excuses, but there should be a standardized rink size in the ACHA that you have to play in. That's the end of my rant, but it drives me nuts.
No,
it drives me nuts.
It's not a bad rant, and I'll just say I'd love to make comments of like, oh, this, that, whatever. I just kind of flat out we got outplayed.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain point in time where when you are so successful, other teams are just going to get up for you.
Yeah,
And man, credit Midland, they played phenomenal. They came out, especially in game 1, very start of the game, very start of the second period, got those goals, and then just gritted it out the rest of the game. Yeah. And in game 1, I was able to watch the whole game. We couldn't put together, 3-4 passes in our offensive zone and 5-on-5. Midland was just all over it. And so, we're a team that's fast, we're a team that's skilled, but Midland was really able to shut down a lot of those things. So the coaches, myself being included, we don't have to hit the panic button or anything, but we just need to kind of go to the drawing board, be ready for these games when they come up again.
And yeah, I would agree because one, like going back to a little bit about that game, because it's first weekend series I can remember in a long time. Liberty was outshot in both games, but more importantly, I like Chris Lowe's what he said in the article to Ted. He basically was like, you can learn a lot from a loss, and I think there's a lot of tape in both games they can learn a lot from, right? Like, and just different things that happen, like some of the even protecting your own blue line, because when they scored on that 2-on-1 in game 1, like they were in the offensive zone, tried to make a play along the boards, and eventually turned it over, and it led to a great breakaway chance. And you can't just give those up against a highly skilled team like that. But it's just a lot to learn from now, and there's no need to panic because still got some strong opponents they're going to play next semester, and potentially might see them again in conference play, or more so conference tournament play.
Yeah, and hopefully, right? At least for me, my competitive thing is, no, I want them again. Let's
absolutely.
When we go to the history with Midland, the last 3 games, conference finals in 2023 till this weekend series, they're 3-0 against us, right? So clearly they've sort of figured out a way to get the job done against us. Let's go back, review that tape, and figure out how we can kind of get back to playing our style of game.
And a lot of it might just be, like you said, the fact that they get up for Liberty. Like, that is the biggest game on their calendar. They want to knock off the champs, and that's their sole focus for a large part of the season. And I don't know if Liberty, like, I know Liberty views Midland as, okay, tough team, we need to perform well against them, but I don't know if they look at it as, like, this is a do or die point of our year right now.
Yeah. No, and probably not.
Yeah.
Just being honest and everything about it. But I know towards the end of game 1, and then when you look at penalty minutes for game 2 as well, it was getting a little chippy. So there might start to be a little bit of that kind of rivalry sense.
Need to pull up that girl from D2.
Teams.
Former
just
D1.
in case, right? But it's exciting, and it'll continue to kind of push us.
Yeah, for sure.
End of the day.
All right, ladies, now after those 2 losses, did respond with a victory over number 12 Jamestown. Outshot Jamestown 61-14 in the game. Goalie's doing a lot of rubber. Spanier, or no, is that right? I always get that mixed up. I want to call her Spanier, but that's not how you say it. Or is it?
Don't cut this out, because we'll mention for the last 3 years, I didn't know what her first name was. So don't feel bad that you know her last name.
I always I don't get to call as much women's hockey as I used to either. But Pat, can you give me the right pronunciation?
I'm pretty sure.
Is it Spanier or is it Spanier?
No, I think it's Spanier.
Is it Spanier?
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. Not.
And so,
I'm throwing a little extra
French. You could
French
correct us if we're wrong, and I'm sorry, but that's because I just call her Ree when I see her.
All right, you got it
and
there.
It's Rihanna.
Yeah,
not
Rihanna. Yes,
not Rihanna, as I've called her
Rihanna.
forever years.
That I do know. That I did know.
Yeah.
All right.
If it makes you feel better, I don't know how to pronounce Priscilla's last name either. No, number 10 for the Flames, a senior. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, isn't it Zeifel?
It could.
I always say Zeifel too.
Yeah. Let's hope. I don't know.
All right, Adamek and Fussy with the goals in that one. Flames will finish off the first semester 11-2-1. And then they'll start off, obviously, Rhode Island coming out to town. Then they head west. Number 5, McKendree, Lindenwood. They're playing all those teams out in the St. Louis area. So, yeah, lots of great stuff. But it is official.
Yes.
A legendary player for the Flames is moving on, and that is Britton Fussy. Played her last games as a Flame.
Yeah, really tough to see that 33 won't be suiting up for Liberty next semester. Yeah. But, I mean, obviously, like you said, she had a great career for Liberty.
Totally.
Key reason why Liberty's won 3 national titles and a couple conference championships, as well as she's won numerous accolades, been multi-conference multiple times, all-conference tournament, all-national tournament, all-American last year. So, she's had a fantastic career for LU, and she surely will be missed.
Absolutely. And we could talk about her on-ice accolades. Obviously, a phenomenal player for us. But it's really the off-ice as well is where she makes a huge mark as a big spiritual leader for our team. Just kind of that solid, consistent, steady presence. She doesn't get overly excited, doesn't wear her emotions on her sleeve, and oftentimes on teams, you just need that. Such a hard worker. Does all the little things right off the ice, and you see the fruit of all that come game time.
Yeah, best of luck to her in the future. All right.
Oh, I was just gonna say, because thinking forward now ahead, kind of like the men. Yes, they're losing a big body, but you are gonna get some bodies healthier.
Yeah, that's true.
Harley Glover was her first series.
Yeah.
So she had some chances. So I think her legs will get under her as the year progresses next semester. And then also you get unique Truder back. When you get a former player of the year back from injury, she's
got the clutch gene.
That's right. Yeah, definitely he's got that. Yeah, and she doesn't care. It's yep, I'm hurting. I'm going to make it happen, though. Because I remember, I think, didn't she have a fractured wrist or something?
Something was going on with the hand. We'll just word it that way.
Yeah, and she said, don't care. I'm putting everything I can in this shot. So, So, I think you're hoping, I think that trip out west that they have in St. Louis versus top 5 and top 6 team, and even Lindenwood as well, should be good showing for Liberty, hopefully moving towards the future.
Here, we'll do this really quick for you two. Just because I think this would be fun. Their MVP improved because I haven't watched enough. Do you feel comfortable doing this?
I mean, I do.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think the MVP would have been Britton Fussy.
Yeah.
So, like, should we still give it to her?
Yeah,
even
for
though-
sure.
Oh, okay,
First semester
all right.
MVP.
Yeah,
definitely.
for sure. There's like at one point, like I was like, yeah, single handedly, she was the best player in the country. Like she got it done on both ends of the ice, and like so, like yeah, for MVP, could say her. I'd say close second though. She's come on late. Haley Battles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She has been an offensive machine.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Then most improved so far this year.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say Priscilla. Like obviously, think moving her up to forward was a great choice by the coaches, and it now gives you once you get all the bodies back, you have complete 4 lines, and like she's been able to do a lot of good things on both ends of the ice, and she makes it tough. The battle in front of the net because that's where she goes, right? Like, and she makes it tough in front of the net for the opposing team.
Love it. Brooklyn Beauchamp for me.
Okay.
Oh,
And I've said this to her before of like, stay hungry. Just keep getting better. Keep getting better. But she came in as a freshman on an extremely talented team, got some minutes, went home over summer, worked her butt off all summer. She's getting a lot more minutes this year, playing some big roles for us. But I want her to keep staying hungry because she can be fast. She's a physical presence out there. Just keep getting better. Keep getting better.
All right,
She's crushing it.
Offensive player of the year.
she's second for the MVP, so Haley Battles.
Haley Battles.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the other fussy, Brielle.
Ooh, I
Okay.
like
Yeah,
that too.
she's having herself a phenomenal year as well. Yeah.
And then defensive player of the year.
Maddie Glenn.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Sammy Peebles.
Oh, I like that.
Just 'cause she's always so steady and consistent
Yes.
out there.
Very calm
And,
presence on the back end.
and she's been crushing it. I've been very, very happy with Sammy so far this year.
All right, good stuff. Flames back at it in this spring semester coming. It's hard. I always think of January as like it's not the spring semester. But
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it is.
Oh, it's
yeah.
All right, Kerr, finally getting to it. Your health tip to close out the fall.
I love it. All right, so we got a big one here, boys. And funny enough, I was in the sauna on Sunday night with a couple fellas.
Getting ready for Finland.
That's right. Coach Morrison of the Lady Flames being one of them. And, we just were chatting it up with some of the fellas, and grounding got brought up. So,
Oh, there you
fortunately,
go.
I had a couple of bullets in the chamber to educate them on as we talked about that last week. But what I want to talk about today is kind of as we finish up and the old flu or sick season is kind of starting up here is how to stay a little healthier between now and when we come back in January. So first off, do the classic things that work, right? Like wash your hands, don't go around sick people, remember to sleep. Sleep is incredibly critical to the immune system and just overall functions of the body. So make sure you're sleeping, drink water, right? Make sure you stay hydrated. And then as far as nutrition goes, it's kind of a big one for me, but I'm going to word this as like, don't stack days. Right. So in other words, if you know tomorrow is going to be tons of cookies and cakes, don't pregame today. Right. Have a good day today, and then the day after, try not to eat all of those sugary leftovers. Right. Be smart when it comes to your get-togethers and family gatherings with friends and all that. Just eat as clean as possible day before, day after.
So no warm-ups and cool-downs, you're saying?
Yeah.
I like it.
If you're baking before to kind of get ready, try to limit how much of the cookie dough you're ingesting before the festivities partake. But the immune system is essentially your gut, right? We've kind of gone over the microbiome before, and if you're destroying your microbiome with sugary foods, you're just asking yourself to get sick. So don't stack those days, right? Give your gut a break. In addition, you're doing a lot more inside. Okay, so when you're outside, you'll be kind of bundled up as well. So what I mean by that is indoors, more clothing over winter, so you have to be taking your vitamin D. Vitamin D plays a major role in our immune system, and we kind of get less sick over summer because we're outside more. We get more sunlight on us, which is one of our main sources of vitamin D. So it's a great time to be supplementing. When we talk about supplements, I personally, this is just a plug. I'm not paid or whatever. I like the brand Thorne, Thorne. And I take about 5,000 IUs a day. Hopefully, along with all those other good habits, should keep the doctor away for you and the family over winter.
All right. Good stuff. Pat, you got any comments?
I do. I have a question.
Yeah.
Because, all right, so now you have a young one.
Yes.
And I'm sure they're going to be an athletic machine. But I have a question about when you start, because you talked about the supplement you take for in the winter. So when would you give a kid, start giving them the kids' vitamins and all that stuff?
That's a great question. I don't have that information right now. Just it might be TMI for most people in the world, but my wife is currently providing those supplements to my child.
Makes sense.
What do you mean?
So he's getting it. But when will he start ingesting them as a solid form? Not sure yet.
Okay.
I gotta look that up. I got a book though.
Yeah,
We're ripping through that.
I was just thinking because you were talking about don't get outside much because it's cold, and one of my daughter's favorite thing is to play outside. So and I was like, oh, she might not get natural vitamin D. I wonder if we should give her vitamins over break. But I'm like, oh, maybe she's too young. So I don't know. So I thought I asked. But
if you know any smart people in PA school right now,
that's right. That's true. I could ask her
as well. But yeah, I'll have to look that up for myself eventually.
All right. Moving on now. Men's Division 2, tough weekend for them. Swept by FGCU, losing to the newly named number 1 team in the Southeast, 3-0 and 6-5.
Yeah, that's obviously a tough outing, especially that second game, right? I mean, they were up 2-1 going into period 2, and then for some reason it was 5-5 going into period 3, and we were like, what happened? But losing another heartbreaker to FGCU, which is tough, but I mean, hopefully it's just a lesson the team learns, and I guess we can talk a little bit more about it before we get into the spring. We were talking a little bit off camera, but this could be a team that's heading to the regional tournament.
Yeah.
And honestly, might not be a bad thing for them now that they're out of conference play.
I'm on the train. I think it would be a good thing. I think every so often a program can use that type of pressure cooker to kind of move yourself forward. And I think it wouldn't be a bad thing for Liberty D2 to have to go through the regional action, just kind of get hardened, battle tested. Even if you lose, you still learn a lot in that tournament to move forward with.
Yeah, it might be, right? I might have to change my tone of...
Kerr is like the Lone Ranger who doesn't like this.
I'm anti-regionals, but especially for men's D2, it is a long layoff between your last game of the season and your first game of Nationals.
Yeah.
As these Flames know from the 2023 Nationals, that first game matters, right? You do have to win every game in pool play, right? That should be your mindset. But I will say, we'll probably talk about it a little later, they have a very tough schedule coming up in the spring as well.
Yes.
So if they don't go to regionals, that just means they absolutely kick butt, and I think they'll be ready heading forward. But when I think of these Florida Gulf games, always a tough place to play because it's such a long bus ride heading down there. It's weird. But the fact that at least they were close-ish, it was good. But I'm really going to be looking ahead of the schedule to January 19th when we play them again. If they are that true number 1 in the Southeast, we have to continue to keep it close, or we have to find ways to beat them. We should have plenty of film at this point in time. So as we're looking towards the spring, definitely have that one circled on the calendar.
Yeah, that'll be a tough showcase. That you're alluding to the Miami, Ohio showcase, because they play them, they play Lindenwood again, and they play Concordia, Wisconsin, they've got one of the best offenses in all of ACHA D2. So those are 3 tough matches. Plus, talking more about the spring semester schedule. You play Miami, Ohio, you're hosting them. That's a top 5 team in the region. You're going back up to on that Northeastern trip to play UMass, Northeastern, and Keene State. You're hosting Keene State. All of those are top 4 teams in the Northeast. So, a lot of tough competition for men's D2 to get them battle-tested and ready to roll.
Yeah, it made me laugh here at this note that they'll start the spring hosting number 6 in the Southeast, Penn State. That's the lowest ranked team they face in the spring.
Yeah.
Ouch. It's going to be a battle, and and we'll see how the Flames prevail. Again, we'll talk about them more in the spring as it gets going. Men's Division 3, good turn of events for them, getting it done on the road.
Win 4-3 in overtime and then dominated.
Yeah.
Game 2, 7-2 versus Penn State of Harrisburg. First couple of wins versus Penn State, and now, said last week, this team's too talented. Even though they haven't been able to string together all those games, too talented to not figure it out, and that 4-3 overtime victory looks like it helped them figure it out, and then they basically laid the dog down. And I think wins versus that team at Penn State, that's going to help them a long way.
Yeah.
Not only for their season and building momentum, but just rankings in AAU.
Yeah, for sure. And we kind of alluded to it, whether it was last week or a couple weeks ago, of it's hard to get the ball rolling when you aren't playing as much.
Totally.
But when we look towards the spring schedule, they're going to have a lot more coming down the pipe, more back-to-back weekends, or at least not as much break in between. But as Liberty was heading out towards Penn State, Harrisburg, I asked one of their assistant coaches, Jamie Ross, like, hey, what's going to be the difference? What adjustments have you made? And he just gave me like a stern look, just attitude. Oh, all right. Yeah, I was like, here we go. But clearly that's what kind of made the difference for them, as they got the overtime win and then a 7-2. So if a little attitude adjustment is all you need to get the boys going, not a bad place.
Yeah. It's good stuff. All right, before we go to Women's Division 2, let's do one fun Christmas thing. Your favorite Christmas movie?
Ooh. It's Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah. That's up there. Close second is Elf, though. Those are two that me and my wife, we always watch during the holiday season.
Love it. For me, I can't think of like why, but it's either going to be Home Alone 2.
All right.
For whatever reason, Home Alone 2.
New York, I like it.
Seen it more. And then, I don't know if you count this as a holiday movie, but I certainly do. Rocky 4.
I
thought Die Hard was coming out when you said that.
Real quick though, like, because they always play the Rocky IV fighting music at nationals.
Oh,
and
really?
It fires me up before every puck drop, and I'm like, "Let's go!"
Rocky 4 does it for me.
Yeah,
I don't. Does the Rocky music get you fired up?
Yeah,
It is
so good.
It's so funny. It does nothing for me.
What?
But like,
not the main music, like the dun 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 dun, but like Hearts on Fire, the anthem they have in Rocky IV, like leading up to the fight versus Drago, and then what's the Eye of the Tiger? Yeah, those, you can all day.
Yeah, I don't, even Eye of the Tiger, I'm just like, must be a different breed, and when my movie will tell that. I'm a White Christmas fan. I love it. Ever since I was a kid, my parents watched that. I love that movie. That is like my favorite Christmas movie. I gotta watch it before Christmas. A little Bing Crosby.
Yeah, I
do you know Bing?
I'm not of course.
Okay.
I'm a well-cultured man.
Yeah. No, I love White Christmas. Great movie. All right, here. Moving on. Women's Division 2. They dominate the Cavs, taking on UVA, about a little 60-minute trip north, and they hammer them 11-0.
Yeah, and I think for them, like, one, last-minute game added to the schedule. We thought they were done. And then Tuesday, they got a call from their coach because there's a requirement. You got to play X amount of games. This is across all ACHA, X amount of games, but also have X amount of ACHA division opponents in your respective league. And so, like, they called, and Reno's like, sure, why not? And I think for LU, they knew that, yep, we need this game because, one, it's another opponent. Two, it's going to help us with the goal differential. And that's exactly what it was. And so, 11-0 victory leads them now to 10-4-1. They're currently fourth in the Southeast, and you get a game like that, it helps you, I think, and like I said, in that goal differential moving forward in the rankings.
And I think the important stat there, currently number 4 in the Southeast, top 5 go to nationals, and just let's not get screwed.
I know, right? Yeah.
It just kind of is what it is.
Get some more buffer. That's
right.
A little insurance marker.
That's why they needed that game. Help with the buffer.
And a big shout out here as well, as I'm walking in the rink yesterday. Coach Leone, I'm sure we're going to touch on here with not only her 50th career win, but Kylie Mebbs with her first ever Liberty Flames goal. Now, it wasn't a full ice saucer from the crease. Kylie played out. and got her first goal as a Flame. So
That's fun.
that's got to be incredibly
That's
exciting.
like old Partridge days when he went from men's Division 2.
Oh yeah, to D3.
D3, yeah.
Forward.
Played phenomenal at forward. We were like
Big body presence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I should have done this the whole time.
Right? Yeah. So Coach Leon, look out. She might be taking one from Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, right.
give her
It's the goalie!
a player stick. Yeah. Fire one down ice.
Oh my goodness, that brings back memories. I loved Mighty Ducks too when I was a kid. Oh,
Yeah.
such a
Who didn't? Right?
I know, right? Yeah.
DT was good. Man, it's so funny. I watched one of those like as an adult. Actually watched it with our good friend Johnny Barber, and he just was ripping it apart. He's like,
Yeah.
offsides. Well, that's an icing. It's like, this is terrible hockey.
Yeah, right.
Like, what are we watching? And I was like, well.
I remember thinking I pre-screen a lot of stuff I let my kids watch, but I remember watching the first one and I'm like, there's no way I'm letting my kids watch this.
Yeah, the
like
first
the
one was
attitudes and the
rough.
language,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
like, good grief, like no way. Second one's definitely better in that regard.
America!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always remember the line. It's just like, was it Iceland is full of Greenland is full of ice and Iceland is twice as nice. I tell that to my kids now, and they're like, "What are you talking about, Dad?" I'm like, "Ducks too."
Yeah.
That was my education growing up. All right, hey, great first semester at Liberty Hockey. For those of you at home, thank you so much for tuning in throughout this year so far. We will be back at it in the spring. Lots of fun stuff to come, and we got to get Kirk Handy on for like a like what does the president do? I can't remember. When he talks to the nation.
State of the Union.
State of the Union.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the word. I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, we need a State of the Union address from Kirk. And I just
Yeah. We
Biden-
also
Biden's
talked
just
about,
rubbing off on me here.
talked about getting Dondi on. So
yeah.
we're going to work on that next semester.
Okay,
Sure.
that'd be fun too. All right,
fan.
great stuff.
He is.
Coming up.
Yeah, he is. He's there. He likes his Liberty hockey too. I loved the Jamie Chadwell thing really quick before we go is too when he ended the little clip Liberty put out of just him coming. All of a sudden you see him. He's like, "Do we score?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, like he was pumped up. Great stuff going on here on the mountain. Those of you at home, have a great Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. And we'll see you right back here in January.